Okay. Okay. Am I audible? Okay, we are going to start our international webinar. Respected learned delegates from across the country, continents, and academia. A very good day to one and all. I'm Stensivius, and I feel privileged to welcome you all on behalf of Social Entrepreneurship, Swachhata, and Rural Engagement Cell of Mercy College, Palakkad to this international webinar on women entrepreneurship. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the chat box. I will bring them up during the presentation, and we will also have some time for questions at the end. I welcome you all for the international webinar on women entrepreneurship. International Women's Entrepreneurship Day is an annual celebration of women and their achievements, demonstrating why empowering women is beneficial for everyone. It is celebrated to empower budding and existing women entrepreneurs who want to start, run, and grow their business, and to create conducive conditions for inclusive, resilient, and sustainable economies. It also helps in addressing gendered imbalances in enterprise development in order to scale women entrepreneurs' contribution to growth and sustainable development, and to enable their meaningful participation in entrepreneurship ecosystem. Now, let us have the pleasure of listening to the opening remarks. May I request Dr. Nila N., Assistant Professor in English, to deliver the welcome address. Now, over to Dr. Nila ma'am. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Ms. Tensi. Good day to all of you. It is with great pleasure that I stand before you on the International Women Entrepreneurs Day to welcome the most learned and erudite people waiting to participate in this international conference all over the world. I also welcome the most popular influential speaker in the world, Ms. Shimna Sameer. Ms. Shimna Sameer is Managing Director and Head of National Operations and Northeast Division for Bank of America's Preferred and Consumer Banking and Investments Business. Shimna joined Bank of America in 2005. Her Northeast Division team is comprised of approximately 6,500 employees and over 900 financial centers focused on meeting clients' financial needs in many cities, including New York, New Hampshire, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Her national operations team consists of approximately over 100 employees who are responsible for managing risk and operational excellence within the company's 4,300 financial centers across the country. A strong advocate for women, Shimna serves or has served as executive sponsor for a number of internal women's and employee engagement and inclusion groups, and has received the Distinguished Bank of America Global Diversity and Inclusion Award. In 2020, she was named to the India New England News list of outstanding women, the Empower Yahoo Finance Ethnic Minority Executive Role Model list, and the Heroes Women Role Model Executive list. She also has been profiled on fairygodboss.com. Shimna serves on the board of the Walker School in Needham, Massachusetts. She holds a master's degree in arts and is a Six Sigma certified green belt. She currently resides in Mansfield, Massachusetts. Having known Miss Shimna from school and college, she's been a topper all the while. Her leadership qualities were very evident as she would deftly handle all issues very efficiently, even then. And she won the college union elections. Being a proud classmate of this dynamic, well meaning personality, I pass the floor on to Stency by giving her a very warm and hearty welcome. A grand welcome to you, Ms. Shimna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. May I now request Dr. Sister Gisela George, Principal of Mercy College, Palakkad, for the presidential address of this webinar. Over to Dr. Sister Gisela George. Sister, please.
Good day. It is with great pleasure that I preside over the international webinar organized by the Social Entrepreneurship, Swachhata and Rural Engagement Cell. I am very happy that they are observing women entrepreneurs
Uh, Excuse me, we have a small technical error. So please be patient. We will continue in soon.
Good day. It is with great pleasure that I preside over the international webinar organized by the Social Entrepreneurship, Swachhata and Rural Engagement Cell. I am very happy that they are observing Women Entrepreneurship Day and their very first seminar is at international level. It is the need of the hour. Women must not only become independent by seeking jobs and earning a livelihood, but must also go a step ahead and become entrepreneurs and give jobs. For that, enlightenment and empowerment is a must. I am happy Ms. Shivna Samir, manager of Bank of America, USA, agreed to be the resource person and share her views. I congratulate the coordinators and team of SES for organizing such a useful session. I wish the program all success. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, sister, for your valuable insights on women entrepreneurship. Thank you once again, sister. Thank you. Now, we are moving to the session. We, as all of us know, we have an eminent personality as a speaker of this webinar, Ms. Shimla Samir, Head of National Operations and Northeast Division, Bank of America. Ms. Shimla Samir is a dynamic leader and passionate advocate for diversity and inclusion. A native of India, she began her career in financial services in 2005 as a teller and now is head of national operations and the Northeast Division for Bank of America's consumer banking and investment. She is passionate about advancing women's careers and actively work to develop and mentor women leaders. She often speaks at forums, panels, and events addressing global audiences about inclusion and empowerment of women. She is the founder and executive sponsor of the bank's Women's Forum and the executive sponsor for the company's CD&I Employee Engagement and Inclusion Council. She is a recipient of the company's Distinguished Global Diversity and Inclusion Award and has been profiled on fairygodboss.com for her advocacy for women. She serves on the board of the Walker School in Needham, Massachusetts, and the Big Sisters Association of Boston. Learned participants, may I now request the distinguished speaker of the day, Ms. Shimla Samir, Head of the National Operations and Northeast Division, Bank of America, to take over the session. Ma'am, please.
Hey, good evening. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Good evening, Chimna.
Awesome.
Very nice to see you. And so happy you're talking to us.
Me too. Excited to be with the group in India. That is amazing. Hey, sorry, it's kind of dark here. It's 5:30 Thursday morning, but I couldn't miss this opportunity. So when Dr. Nilla asked me to participate, I had to say yes. So as Nilla introduced me, Nilla and I have been schoolmates, college mates. We've had some amazing time together, learning and growing up together. My parents still live in India. They live in Coimbatore. I lived in Coimbatore for quite a bit of time, but they are from Kerala. So we spoke Malayalam at home. We still do. My mom is from Malappuram and my dad is from Ottapalam. So that's kind of a little bit of a personal introduction and my connection to India. I still have a ton of family in India, my cousins, sisters, there's a lot in India and we visit all the time. My husband is from Thrissur. Oh, so when we come to India, we also spend a lot of time in Thrissur. So, all right, I love this topic because I think anytime you talk about women entrepreneurship, you are going to spend a lot more time talking about women leadership, women empowerment, and all of that, right? So in the spirit of inclusion, this is such an amazing topic. But before I go into qualities and how you could be an awesome entrepreneur, let's spend some time understanding why women's entrepreneurship, right? So, and think about this in the full absolute sense, right? It's so important for women to be in power. Now, by power, I don't necessarily mean the power to destroy, the power to go about things, right? Think about power in its absolute sense. The power to make decisions, the power to be a change in the society, the power to be independent, the power, and I saw it on your little program list, it said the ability and the power to build a resilient economic society, right? For all of that, it's so important for women to consider entrepreneurship. And that's so important. If you think about the world population, right? Of course, it continues to be women as a larger population than men. But then when you look at entrepreneurs and small business owners, we have women at a much smaller number than men. So there is an imbalance, right? As you think about resilient and a sustainable, socially equal workforce, It's impossible to accomplish that if the population ratio and the ratio of entrepreneurship is completely not balanced. So that's a starting point, right? So why women in power? Because women in power get an opportunity, one, to make decisions for themselves. That's a starting point, because an empowered woman that is independent, respects herself, and can make decisions, can then domino it to everyone, including her own family, right? Because I think about myself almost as a woman entrepreneur. Sure, I work for a company, but I do build my business within the company, and it gives me an opportunity to lead, make a difference, build an inclusive environment, and I bring that home in some sense, because my empowerment empowers my husband, it empowers my 16-year-old daughter. So the empowerment dominoes, right, at home and then outside the house, because now it allows me to look at the business and say, okay, where can I have an opportunity to have women providing me absolute intelligence and men providing me absolute intelligence, right? You need both. This is not a question of just women, not men, right? This is a question of how do we get a balance of right thought processes from women as well as right thought processes from men. So why women in power? You kind of get an insight into what I think about it, right? Now, if you Google top women entrepreneurs in the world, one of the names that I didn't actually expect seeing on that list was Angela Merkel, right? You all know Angela Merkel of Germany. So I was surprised why she would show up on an entrepreneur list, right? Because I think of her as a world leader and not necessarily an entrepreneur. Boy, was I wrong. How could you not be an entrepreneur if you are a world leader? Because at the end of the day, it is about leadership, right? So what I will spend some time talking about is qualities of women entrepreneurs, right? Because I think that's the starting point. Both your speakers right before me talked about women's empowerment, right? And at the end of the day, whatever the domino is comes from these qualities. So let's talk about that a little bit and why that becomes the foundation of entrepreneurship. So the first piece is leadership. And that's why I think Angela Merkel's name showed up, right? She's a leader. She is building a business, but not a business a little differently than us, right? She's not trading products or goods, but she is building an economic structure, a social structure, a politically stable structure for her country and in turn for the world. What a great definition for an entrepreneur, right? So that's exactly the kind of thing we look for in entrepreneurs, which is leadership. What does leadership mean? The first piece is confidence to pursue your dream. Most often, and scientifically, we do this study all the time, women wait to feel completely perfect before they take their first step. And that's just scientifically kind of how women think, and this is where women think differently than men, right? Because as a man, like my husband and I talk about it all the time, right? My husband could be the first one. If there an opportunity came up, he'll be like, okay, I'll try it. Whereas me as a woman, I would say, what do I get out of it? What are some of the disadvantages? What am I not thinking about? But am I really good at it? Right? Because women always try to pursue perfection, and they only take the next step when they feel perfect. Now, it is good, right? Because that's your difference maker, that gives you some stability. But sometimes you don't always gain perfection as your first step, right? When you feel and when you understand that you have passion, do your homework for sure, but don't wait for perfection, because that can hold you back. You gain perfection as you move on, but don't wait for perfection, right? So that's the first thing. Pursue your passion and grow into perfection. Don't wait for perfection. So that would be step number one. And the second one, we talked about leadership, right? What does leadership mean? To me, the most important quality of a leader is to bring people along, right? So as you think about your own growth into an entrepreneur, think about how do I bring people along. It does two things for you. One, in your process of becoming an entrepreneur and building a very reliable, resilient business, you also give an opportunity to other people around you to thrive. And that's so important, because if you have a community or a society around you that is super strong and steady, then the chances of your business, your entrepreneur venture to be steady and successful doubles, doubles, right? So selfishly, quite frankly, you want a society or a community around you that's pretty solid and strong, so can your business thrive. Equally important, as you bring people along, you're bringing ideas, you're bringing inclusive thought processes, right? So be a leader, bring people along as you make your decisions to become an entrepreneur. And they can start giving you thoughts, right? Again, don't take the thoughts and slow yourself down. Take the thoughts to grow, to pursue that perfection, which is in general who we are as women, right? So that would be the second piece I'd think about, right? Leadership is so important. And now a lot of you are students at school, at college, right? So this is a good opportunity for you to hone in on that leadership quality. I heard from your teachers, and they're all talking about that, right? So how do I become a leader while I'm at school? To me, a leader is not necessarily a position, it's an attitude. It's an absolute attitude, right? So it doesn't mean that you have to be, I'll tell you, in my second year in college, I actually, Nila remembers this, I lost the elections because we contested to be general secretary, and I lost the election. But then going into the third year, so I had no position within the college union in my second year, right? It was embarrassing that I lost the election because we contested quite hard. It was disappointing. It was nerve-wracking. It was quite a sad day for not just me, for all my teammates too, like Nila. But in the third year, I went on to win the election as the college union president with double, I think, if I remember it right, double the number of votes. So think about it. I didn't have a leadership position till from the time I was in the second year till the time I moved into the third year. So that was a good learning journey for me. My college, my teachers, my friends helped me through that journey, because they helped me quickly understand that leadership is not about a position, a role, a title, or a job. It's an attitude. Leadership is about making sure you're unconditionally available to support people when they need it. A great quality of an entrepreneur. Leadership is about having a steady hand, a good quality for an entrepreneur. Leadership is about strategic thinking and thought process, right? It could be a support for your department. You could come up with great ideas and share that with your teachers. Say, here's something I'd love to do for our department as the next idea or as the next program. That's great. A good quality for an entrepreneur, right? So if you think about every little thing you can do today, all of that screams entrepreneur, 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 right? And that's a good starting point. If you organize little events in your college, that's somewhat of what entrepreneurs do, right? They organize uh, goods for products and trades and buy and sell. That's it. That's a quality of an entrepreneur. Can you influence people with decisions? That's a quality of an entrepreneurship, right? So as you think about your journey within college, and I'll tell you this with sincerity, there is no place like college for you to grow into what you want to be, to think about what you want to be, and make decisions without big consequences, right? Because you're still under the protection of a large group of people who expect nothing but success for you. So here's an opportunity for you to think about your future. And I know a lot of you want to be employed, and that's okay too. While employed, how can you be an entrepreneur and build a business? That's a good starting point. And for others of you, you may say, I'd love to do this because I need to get paid. I need to be employed for family support, but I have a passion. If that's the case, then you start thinking about, of course, you can still take a job and pursue your passion or your dream on the side. And little by little, you can build. But your starting point is today. So my recommendation as I stop, and then I want to open it up for questions because I want to hear from you and your thoughts, and then I can go wherever you want me to go, right? So let me leave you with this thought process. I do think it's so important for women to be in the power to make decisions for themselves, to be able to help others with their decisions, to continue to employ others and provide financial independence to others around them. This helps with the balance of economics in the world. And for that, your starting point is to learn to be a good leader today. And you have the opportunity to do so because you have great people. Think about it, right? It's 5:30 here in Boston. I live in Boston. I was so excited to join you guys because Nila was very excited to bring you some expertise. So there are so many people around you wanting to do a lot more for you. So take them up, start thinking about ideas, go to them, share it, think about the pros and cons, and get moving. Because I know together, if men and women continue to work towards helping women and women's parity and inclusion, the world would be stronger. And we need a stronger world for all of us to thrive and be steady and balanced. So I'm excited. Listen, we can continue this conversation even after the questions and answers. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me as Shimna Samir on LinkedIn, or I also have an Instagram handle. It's Shimagram, SHIMERGRAM. I do share my thoughts there. I share quotes. I do some videos on career and leadership and those kind of things. So feel free to join and feel free to continue this conversation. But Dr. Nila, I'll give it to you for some questions and answers today.
Thank you very much. That was a very inspiring talk. I couldn't wait to listen to you after such a long time. Seeing all your influential talks, you have inspired thousands of college students. We keep passing your Friday forwards too. So they'll all be excited to see you. Thank you very much. Now I pass the question answer session to Miss Tensi. She will read out the questions in the chat box.
Ma'am, there is one question. What are the barriers for women entrepreneurship? What are the barriers for women entrepreneurs?
Yeah, there are a couple of things, right? So if you think about today's world, there are a lot more women entrepreneurs, but women entrepreneurs are not still common, right? So naturally, there is an unconscious bias that you have to unfortunately beat as you walk into jobs, right? So if you think about it, people wonder, can you work when you have children, right? Who's going to take care of your children? Does that mean that you will be too kind of distributed with your thought process because you have to also be a family woman, right? So you're walking into a world where some level of bias exists, and that's a good challenge, unfortunately, that women have to overcome, right? Because you will get asked, hey, are you sure you'll be able to work? Who takes care of your husband and your kids? Are you sure you'll be able to work? What happens if we have a meeting later in the evening, right? Are you able to travel? Because you will require to travel a lot. And then what happens to your family? These are kinds of questions that people ask because historically people are used to seeing wives and mothers at home available to take care of their children and husbands and family, moms and dads, right? So that's a natural bias that you walk into. How do I beat that bias? Couple of things to think about, right? One, don't take that personally. That's not necessarily discrimination. That's just people's historic thought process. I have spent a lot of my energy trying to fight that, right? And I've realized after a period of time, the best thing to do about is education and about proving yourself, right? So when someone says to you, hey, what happens to your children? I always say, thank you for your concern about my family. I have a great solid system at home that will keep everybody safe. Rather than saying, why are you discriminating, right? I don't say that. I say, thank you for your concern. So that's how I do it. And then when people bring up a concern, I absorb it. I still come back home and think about it. Okay, someone said I'll have to travel. What does that mean to my life? So when people give you thoughts, don't take it personally, absorb it, answer it politely, and then keep moving. Don't let bias stop you, right? Because one of the ways you can beat bias is to have more women entrepreneurs and prove to the world that it's possible. There's a good balance. I hope that answers your question, Sensi.
Yes, ma'am. There is another question in the chat box. The question is, ma'am, can you please share your first start as an entrepreneur? Was it easy? And what were your difficulties while pursuing it?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. That was a good question. So I've always been employed with Bank of America, now 15 years with the company. I consider this as an entrepreneurship venture, right? Because I run a business. I run a business that has 7,000 people working for me. So I consider it a business, but a business in service of clients. So I'll give you a quick story of my career journey. Probably that'll help answer your question and may inspire you a little bit. I came into the United States because I got married to my husband, Samir Ramkrishnan. That was almost 20 years ago. Once I had my daughter and she turned 1, because I wanted to stay home with her to take care of her. That was a choice. That was a personal choice. When she turned 1, I was able to find her appropriate support and start working. So I started working as a teller. So a teller in the United States is a cashier in, in a bank in India. We call the cashiers here tellers. I started as a teller. Okay, actually, I'm going to step back a second. Even before my daughter was born, when I first came to the United States, Nila told you this, right? I was extremely active in school. School union president. I participated in every intercollegiate you could think about, both in the state, outside the state. We did so many activities together at school. So I was a very active student in school. So once I got married and started living at home, after a while, I started getting really bored and restless because I was so active. But at that point, I had not started driving because I was just new to the United States and I had to wait for like whatever number of months before I could start driving and get my license. So I decided that I still wanted to do something with my life. And the only place I could go ask for a job was a bakery outside my house. We lived in an apartment complex. There was a bakery right outside my house. So I decided that I'll go ask them for a job, which I did. So I went into the bakery and I said, can I have a job? And they said, well, they looked at my certificates. They said, I don't have a job for you. You're too qualified for the job. And I said, I'll do anything. So they said, are you sure? I said, absolutely, I'll do anything. So they took me in for a job and I did every odd end pieces. Now, you all know this, growing in India, like I had someone to help us clean the house and someone to drive our car. The job they gave me included cleaning tables. It included doing cashier work. It included washing pizza pans. Not that I needed the money. I only got $6 an hour those days, but I did it because it gave me great experience, right? So it allowed me to learn the right language that we use in the United States. It allowed me to understand client culture in the United States. So don't get me wrong, there were days I was like, oh, why am I wiping tables? Why am I washing dishes? I didn't even do it at home, right? And it made me feel bad about myself, but I quickly snapped out of it because my goal was to learn. My goal was to become an entrepreneur and run a business. So no job is a small job. Yes, it was emotional for me because I kind of felt, wow, I like my mom washed my dishes for me and here I'm washing pizza pans. So it made me feel emotional, but I snapped out of it because I understood that every journey starts with a small first step. Every journey starts at a very humble place. Every journey teaches you something. So that was my first learning point. And I'm so thankful that I did that job because it taught me a lot. It taught me how to take care of clients in the United States. So anyway, now coming back to the story of when I started with Bank of America, my daughter was a year old. I started, but that experience tremendously helped me to now go do a little bit of a bigger job, right? From there on, it was about, I made sure that I took care of people around me. I made sure that not only was I trying to get promoted and trying to grow within the company, I helped others around me do that. I made sure that I thought about the business in a sustainable manner, right? It was not about building a business that would crash if I left. It was about making sure the business completely followed the purpose of the company. The business was sustainable. So that's how I continued to build it. So as you think about struggles that I may have experienced, there was certainly an emotional struggle because I grew up a certain way and then I went in to do smaller jobs before I had to climb through the different levels of the company, right? So it was emotional. It was scary because think about it, I'm an immigrant. And I'm in United States. I'm a woman. I'm a person of color. So there's so much diversity that comes with me, right? So I was scared of that. There were so many things I was still learning because I didn't grow up in the US, as you all know that. So that was difficult. So I had emotionally, I was worried. Knowledge wise, I still had to keep learning. I had to figure out the best clothes to wear, right? Because when you go and represent yourself in clients, now there's a financial impact for it. But the only thing I'll tell you, your struggles could be different than mine. Your experience could be different than mine. But what you and I can do equally and consistently is not give up. Don't give up. If you have to come home and cry through the night, do so. In the morning, wake up, wash your face, thank the Lord for the opportunity you've gotten, and go back at it. So that's what I would say. Don't give up as hard as it gets. Because I never, 15 years ago, dreamed that I would be the head of the consumer enterprise for the Northeast and also run operations for such a huge company. So it's possible. I hope that answers it, Chancy.
Yeah, really inspiring experience, ma'am. Thank you for sharing it with us. There is another question in the chat box. Ma'am, when women is running a business, many try to buy them or bring them down by various methods, emotionally or financially. How to overcome them? Is there any experience for you in such a situation?
Yeah, Sri Harini, PSDR Krishnamal College for Women. I love to see that on the WebEx. That's phenomenal. Yes, absolutely, right? And that has nothing to do with women. People try to bring down men too, right? That's just unfortunately uh, people being human beings, right? People as human beings are amazing, but people as human beings can sometimes be not so thoughtful, right? So that could happen to you regardless of your gender, right? If anyone tries to bring you down, here's three things you can do, right? The first piece is I do this all the time. I have a book every single day. I take my book, write down every learning, good, bad, ugly. I write it down. So let's say someone